Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you are now tuned into the Investor Show with your gracious host, the Prince of Investing, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys and girls live all the way from the beautiful city and state of Denver, Colorado. As you guys and girls can already see, we got a very, very special guest. Finally, he's in the building. We have the one and only. We have the mayor, the Honorable Michael Hancock. How you doing today, sir?
Prince, I am glad to be with you.
I'm glad to have you here. Finally, get you here. This is going to be a very serious interview.
Oh, that's
very
all right.
serious. That's how it's going to go.
That's all right.
The first serious question I got for you is, how many games will the Broncos win this year?
You know what? Let's see. Let's wait until after this weekend. Take a look at the draft and
see what we got.
See what we got.
Do we have any picks left?
Yeah, we have 5. So we'll see. But I'll tell you what. I'm excited about. The new head coach. Veteran head coach. Mm-hmm. We got an adult in the building, which is important.
Yes.
I ran into Justin Simmons just last night. He's pretty optimistic and excited about the season.
Okay. And I asked that question because in your history, we're going to look at, Michael Hancock, where he came from and stuff like that, right? And you was a mascot for the Broncos during the Super Bowl run, huh?
Yeah, I was a mascot my senior year in high school, 1987. They played the Giants in the Super Bowl that year. We didn't win, but I got a chance to. It was a high school job. It was a gig. I made $25 an hour doing that in 1987. So
that's a lot of money.
I would make in one game twice of what my classmates were making in an entire week.
Wow,
working part-time.
Okay, well, you've been the mayor here for over a decade, 12 years.
12 years.
4 terms. You're about to term out here soon. 3 terms. People will wonder, how did this happen? Because, I have sit down with a lot of politicians. Mm-hmm. One of your, I know you got many mentees, but Mr. Chris Herndon, he said here as well. The thing I wanted to ask you, people wonder, how did you start as a child in Texas? How did you become Michael Hancock, become the mayor of one of America's major cities?
Well, first of all, I'm blessed to come from a very close family, very big family. I'm the youngest of 10 children. Our parents were also military, Army, and our parents.
I'm sorry to hear that about the Army part. But
that's all right. That's all right, But our parents had 10 children and 3 sets of twins. I have a twin sister, but we're the babies. But a very tight-knit family, and I believe that's where it starts, right? That family unit is everything to us, and we're now a large family. But I grew up in that nurturing environment. It wasn't easy. We were not very, very wealthy. Parents divorced when I was about 5, so mom was a single parent raising 10 kids, so it was tough at that time. Damn. Yeah. But, here's the reality. We got through it. It taught us resilience. It taught us tenacity. It taught us togetherness. It taught us to appreciate things other than material items. And I grew up and, we got through school. I'm a graduate of Manual High School. Went to other local schools in Denver, Cole Middle School, Steck Elementary School. Went to some schools in Montbello because we moved an awful lot. But the reality is that we recognize that our way out of where we were, our situation was all of us focusing on education. And not all of us did well. I mean, got through it, but today we got people with master degrees and in the family, and we got now 66 nieces and nephews or grandchildren in the family. Mm-hmm. So bottom line is education was important, family was important, faith was important, and I came out of college after graduating from Hastings College, got my graduate degree at University of Colorado at Denver. And, started my career with the Denver Housing Authority, ultimately the Urban League, and ultimately got elected to office.
Nice. And you was a city councilman first.
I was elected to District 11, and I was going to run at large initially. But, I started thinking about, really where were the economic, cultural, and really educational issues? Where were my heart and soul, my passion? And as I tell young people, don't just follow the opportunity or money. You follow where your passions will make you get up every day, even through the difficult times, and want to go get it. And District 11 had the old airport and the new airport. It was also Denver primed to be Denver's fastest growing area. It also had more diversity. And that's what I wanted to represent, was a diverse community. And District 11 gave me that. So that was Park Hill, Stapleton at the time, Central Park today, Mount Bello, Green Valley Ranch areas.
Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to get to was, I know there are a lot of programs out there, like you spoke about that, entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
That person who's listening to this, that you said, hey, you know what? Mayor Hancock, he went out here. Here he is, pretty much started from the bottom, your family of 10, and, wins councilman. Then, I mean, I know you was on the Urban League, wins councilman, becomes the mayor, terms out as the mayor. What is there anything that the mayor office does for like small businesses, entrepreneurs?
Well, we really focused on small businesses. I'll never forget the first meeting I had with a group of small businesses. It was an incubator in just west of downtown Denver. And I walked in there and I asked a question of about 40 entrepreneurs. I said, what is it? They asked me actually, what is your vision for small business? I said, I want us to be the startup and small business capital of the nation. And someone raised their hand and said, Mr. Mayor, we got to tell you, we already are. And if we had a champion, we'd be even better. So you do what you do. You champion small businesses and we'll make you proud and build this ecosystem. And you know what? It worked. I went about the process of continue to talk about small businesses, trying to put in place through our tools at the city, revolving loan funds, making the revolving fund that we had solvent because it wasn't when we came in. And really making sure we had an ecosystem, the tools to help entrepreneurs who walk through the door and say, I want to get started. And so we went about investing in that, bringing VC capitalists into Denver because they weren't here. They weren't even thinking about Denver. And we were very intentional about going to the West Coast, going to Boulder, Colorado. Say, y'all need to come look at these innovators and these smart entrepreneurs in Denver. And we started doing that. We started seeing more investors come to Denver. We started seeing the system of helping these small businesses get stronger.
Okay. Something I saw you were speaking about earlier, we send this across the country, right? Housing market, you've seen in your terms, you've seen a lot of growth in Denver. I mean, me in 5 years,
right.
I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen from when I showed up here and saw the housing prices, I was like, man, this thing has to be a bubble. And then it just turned into a bigger bubble. I was like, man, goodness, I thought this was, even in the pandemic, it pushed even more. But it's happening across the country, right? You're noticing that you're seeing, I think now the average home price in Denver is like $600,000, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Very close, yeah.
So you're looking at how much is you know exactly? I know
it's just below $500,000.
Just below 500. Okay, so I forgot. Depending on where you live, right?
Depending on where you live, absolutely.
Depending on where you live, but we're not seeing wages increase that high,
right?
So which turned into a housing problem. So affordable housing, what is your take on, affordable housing in the city of Denver?
It's been an absolute priority. In 2013, I became the first mayor in Denver's history to invest general fund money into building affordable housing. And, also trying to sound the alarm really to the investors, builders, developers that we need more affordable housing. Otherwise, your workers will not be able to stay in this city. And because we saw it growing, we saw the indicators really beginning to escalate.
But let me ask you this question: what caused that?
Well, I think you got to remember, and we have a very short memory when it comes to social economic dynamics. We forget we came out of a Great Recession. Denver was one of the first cities into the Great Recession. We had tremendous predatory lending happening right here in Denver, Colorado. Many of our neighborhoods, 80239 community, 80207, 80205, and 80219. If I asked you what those zip codes represent, most people wouldn't know. I would tell you that's where most of your people of color live. Those are the neighborhoods that were number one, some of them leading in the nation in predatory lending practices that occurred. And unfortunately, at the time of our growth spurt, which happened around 2010, 2011, started around 2010, 2011, we had a lot of people who were previously homeowners living in apartments.
Wow.
And so you start people moving in. When they move in, most of those people are younger folks just coming out of college or starting their careers. And where do they want to live? They want to live in apartments. And so we had this huge demand and not very much supply. And as we started building housing, there you go again. People are starting to come out of the apartments into the housing. We're just not building fast enough. So it was a dynamic it was very basic, ABC of economics. Demand outstripped supply and the numbers went through the roof.
Wow. So how do you see that now going forward? Are we catching up or,
We continue to see our numbers, our cost of housing growing in some parts of this community, or increasing, I should say, in some parts of the community. We did see kind of a plateauing during the pandemic, but we have not seen a stop. I mean, a decrease in cost, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of a plateauing. So it's still costly to live in Denver. I can tell you that my administration is now responsible. We just crossed over 26,000 affordable housing units that we have been responsible for helping to build in the city. But it's like giving a well a tic tac right now. We are hundreds of thousands of affordable housing units upside down. So it takes policy, it takes some incentives to get developers and builders to build housing.
Now, speaking on the business side, how do you fix that? Do you just go out and say, "Hey, contractors, would you build?" Like, how do you fix that? Like when you have
no, we have policies. I mean, we have an inclusionary housing plan or ordinance in place that over a certain number of units you have to build affordable housing. If we have open land, which we, by the way, we inventory most of the open land that the city owns, we put it out already, and it's already been used for affordable housing or being used for affordable housing. So there's not a lot of open land available that the city owns to do that. But we really just try to incentivize our developers and buy into, and we have a housing fund that the people of Denver passed 2 years ago that allows us to invest in developments and secure and protect affordability for a period of time.
Now I got to ask you this question. Do you see in a sense that we'll overshoot, that we'll build too many houses? You know, because I always see, you know, nobody ever like, all right, that's enough. Equilibrium, you know, like you spoke about supply.
Yeah.
So I always think about it that sometimes we overdo it. When we don't have enough, then we overdo it. We need houses. Then we get all these developers, we incentivize them. And I was like, oh crap, now these houses are vacant. What do you see?
No, I don't see that happening. Denver is, first of all, the demand is so great. People still want to move in the city.
Why is that? What's the main attraction?
It's a cool city. I mean, reality today, you know, you and I are talking at a time when we're hosting 4,000 people to our city from the Western Hemisphere. So they're coming from Central South America, Mexico, Canada, and they're visiting Denver. And I'm telling you, mayors and city officials and, you know, policy people are, my God, a city. I mean, it's a vibrant city, even with the challenges that we're facing, which, by the way, most American major cities are facing today. But even with our challenges, people still look at the city and go, this is a friendly, hospitable, warm, enjoyable, vibrant city. And we want to
it does get cold now.
Right, it does. I mean, warm in terms of our welcoming. And, you know, but even when it gets cold here, we're still not, you know, I don't want to put my friend Lori Lightfoot out there, but Chicago, we're not Chicago where you freeze to death, right?
Yeah.
You know, we get cold. If we dip below certain temperatures, it's unusual for us. It's all news. You know, some cities just like it's cold outside. We're not Minnesota. So, but we are a city that you can tolerate the changes in weather typically.
Okay. Now, recently the Governor Polis came out and said, hey, we have all this land and the land use, and he wanted to change his way of fighting, you know, if I'm getting this correct, I don't want to misquote anything. His way of combating affordable housing issues is like, hey, we have all this land. If we rezone this land, you know, we could turn these into residential areas, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you see this, and you know you're opposed to that, right? Why did you oppose to that?
I'm not opposed to the concept, what he's trying to do. We agree with his objective, and it's a laudable objective. It's one that, quite frankly, for the last 10, 12 years as mayor, I've been focused on building affordable housing and trying to create density, particularly around transit corridors, so people can walk out of their units or their homes and get on the train or buses and move about. It's a huge impact if you're able to do that. Building density, you know, apartments and condos, those are things that we are doing and should be doing. What we opposed to was the process. And oftentimes in politics and in life, it's not what you're trying to do, it's how you're trying to do it that creates the problem. You've heard this old saying, I'm not opposed to what you're saying. I don't like the way you're saying it. and my mother used to say that all the time. And, you know, it's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. If you want to serve me a steak and a baked potato and a nice glass of red blend wine, some of my favorite, but you bring it to me on a trash can top, that's not going to be very appealing to me. I'm not saying the governor did that because that's not the way he operates. But the reality is that as cities, the one thing we will never allow, and that is anything that will exempt or preempt, I should say, our local control, the ability to control our own destiny. And there's no greater responsibility that local governments, particularly city councils, have than land use. 2, local governments have a better understanding of the context in their cities. You just can't force us from top down, state government, local government, to do certain things because you don't understand the dynamics like we do on the ground. Thirdly, we better understand, and Denver certainly does, and my administration has studied it since 2011. We understand what causes gentrification. and
Mm-hmm.
involuntary displacement. Oftentimes, the very people that you'll go and force feed these affordable housing units for will not be the ones who benefit from it. And unfortunately, you'll see young people who have the ability to come in with better financial wherewithal get into those units, or
Mm.
who have parents who can help them with down payment, buy those units, as opposed to the people you were designing them for. So we got to be very smart. We got to understand the triggers of involuntary displacement and gentrification, and we kind of understand some of those things. And I'll tell you, just looking at the policy as Senate Bill 213 was proposed, just based on the knowledge that we've gained over 10 years, there were some triggers that I saw that made me very concerned that this could be one of the unintended consequences. So we communicated that to the state and said that we got to do a better job sitting down and helping you understand what we know on the ground in local communities, our context, what our triggers are, and quite frankly, keep your hands off our preemption. Or don't try to preempt our local control.
Now, what would be your solution to that if you don't want to?
No, a solution, again, I'm going to be clear. The solution is the right solution. We need, and by the way, Denver has what we call a Comp 2040 plan. Our housing plan calls for exactly what the governor was calling for. We already did it. We did that. We did that study, and we did that planning with the community back in 2017. We completed that process. So we already are working to build density around transit corridors. We already are helping people with accessory dwelling units or ADUs. We already are pushing for rezoning for housing. We already have policies in place to incentivize developers to build. So we're doing these things. Quite frankly, the policy that the governor and the state proposed would impact Denver less than it does other places. But what we cannot do is and ever sacrifice or negotiate our local control.
Okay. Well, that kind of makes sense there. Now you done 3 terms now, right?
Yeah.
You done 3 terms. You got 12 years in. Lots happened during that time frame. What is next?
I don't know, man. You know what? I gotta tell you this. I sat down and thought about it. I'm 53 now, which means I've been working since professionally for 52 years. And for the first time in my life, in my career, I don't know what's next. And Prince, sometimes you think about it, that is not a bad place to be. I'm looking for an opportunity to be a blessing to my family. I got 3 children and 3 grandchildren now. And I want to be a blessing to them. They're going to be buying homes soon. They're going to be getting married. And I got to try to financially put myself in position to be a blessing to them as they do those things. So that's an objective. And 2, I don't want to, I want to get off the merry-go-round of 15, 30-minute increments for 14 hours a day and kind of breathe a little bit, enjoy life a little bit and travel a little bit. So, I'm trying to design what that looks like going forward.
Now, this is the mayor. Do they give you like a pension program?
No, I mean, I'm in the pension plan. It's no different than city employees. No different than city employees, as it should not be. But
you said that pretty fast.
No, because presidents leave office and they get what $250,000, $300,000 every year for life.
You didn't put that in. You didn't put that in.
Man, I didn't negotiate that.
No,
I didn't negotiate that. Should have thought about
it. No. Now I got this question for you, right? I think the first time I met you was some years ago. At the Colorado Battalion. I was they asked me to be one of the guests, I guess I was presenters.
Presenters, yep.
And I was the guest. I don't know why they picked me for that.
Come on.
But they picked me for that, and
we all know now.
So that's my first time meeting you. That was right when my 3rd book was coming out, right?
Yeah.
That I was doing with TD and about financial literacy. How do you feel about that topic? How do you feel in the city? Is the mayor office, or does the mayor office, or did the mayor's office do anything regarding, that financial literacy piece?
We talked about housing. We've talked about affordable housing. We talk about equity disparities, economic disparities, or economic disparities is what I'm trying to say. And the reality is that a lot of it boils down to historic discrimination, and historic lack of knowledge in terms of financial literacy. And so very early on in my career, when I was 24 years old at the Denver Housing Authority, one of the very first programs I was responsible for was implementing financial literacy programs for the residents of public housing. And I understood how important it was. We carried over that same value and responsibility when I went to the Urban League. And I was proud to bring it into the office of the mayor. And so we partnered with the Bloomberg philanthropies, Michael Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York. I'll never forget the day he called me and said, Mayor, my foundation is going to give you almost $2 million at the time to start a financial literacy. We had proposed creating the first ever Mayor's Office of Financial Empowerment. And we have today, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but I can tell you several thousand people we have helped to become financially free of debt. Some $36 million worth of debt has been abated through this process or through our program. We've helped people who were, one lady I know, I'll never forget, Miss Brown, who was found living in her car, is now a homeowner because of the financial empowerment program. So these are the kind of things that are near and dear to my heart. And I understand that if we can turn this corner, we can help people become more financially independent, not wealthy, right? Yeah. That's their objective. They can get there. But our goal is to get you more independent, free from debt, particularly revolving high interest debt. And secondly, be able to control your own financial destiny. That's what I mean by financially independent.
Now, this is one of the things I'm giving you a real statistic that I went out and, had experienced myself.
Yeah.
And it feels like you have policies that create a pretty vehicle, right? They give you a good vehicle to say, hey, you know what? You can go out and start your own business. We're going to help you start that business and things like that. But once you get that vehicle, we all know that vehicle is going to need some gas. Right. So when the vehicle get there, it's like, hey, you can go out and do this and do this and do this and do this. But it's like, hey, where do I get that gas from? Right. So you're looking at me in the financial world, look at asset management. Most assets have already been managed, right, for the past 50, 60, 70 years, and the city has done it and things like that. So now I feel like people come in and say, hey, you know what? We have these programs for you, which are great. I even seen one with, I had one of the dispensaries owners in here that you had done for the dispensaries and people of color and created this for them.
Right.
But then the ejection of cash wasn't there.
Right.
So the people are like, hey, I got this great thing where I can deliver marijuana because, you pretty much carved it out to say, hey, you can now get in here with that. How do you feel about it? Sometimes I feel like, hey, where's the gas on my vehicle?
Yeah, access to capital is what you're referring to, right? I mean, how do we get moving? We got these great ideas and like I said, we got innovative entrepreneurs, but if they don't have the fuel, to your point, you can't go nowhere, right? So one of the things that I did was I struggle with this because I've met with young entrepreneurs, anything young, it doesn't matter, entrepreneurs in general. And they always talk about this lack of access to capital. We don't have the money. We don't have the resources. The banks aren't lending to us. The traditional lending vehicles are not fueling our vehicles. So what do we do? And I struggled with it for a while, and then it hit me one day. I said, you know what? Denver's making pretty good money off of marijuana taxation. At the same time, we still got members of our community, African-American community, other communities of color, who are straddled with some form of conviction on their record because they carried a small amount of marijuana on it. So while some people are making millions, literally millions, we got people can't get jobs, can't rent an apartment, can't start their business. They can't get a loan. So how do I make this work? And it occurred to me, what if I took a % of that taxation and put it in a fund that they can access, free and replete from the traditional lending requirements that typically happen? And so I floated the idea to my finance people and said, drop a plan for me, tell me what it would look like. And based on the revenue we were making, we could take 1% and put away $5 million a year. And my goal was to build this fund to $50 million. Just so happened as we were putting the construction of this plan together, I had a meeting with Bank of America executive. And I said, he was trying to tell me what he wanted to do, which was literally to create this type of fund. I said, well, I'm creating that kind of fund in the city right now. He said, what if we partnered? What if we matched? Now we got a fund in the city of Denver that goes from $25 million to potentially $50 million. And then we find a second bank who said the same thing. Now we can potentially get up to $100 million in 10 years with this fund. So that's what we're doing. It's called the Herman Malone Fund. And it's already set up, and we've had our first $5-6 million infusion. This year will be the second $5-6 million infusion. And this is where you don't have to be in the marijuana business. Just be small business with a plan. You can go to them for floating cash. We got a contract. We just don't have the money to get the working capital, right? Or I want startup money. Bring your plan. Let's go. So it's that sort of strategy, and I'm excited about it.
Nice. Okay. Well, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
What is this fund again?
It's called the Herman Malone
Let me
Fund.
make
Herman
sure-
Malone.
Go ahead and write this
Well
down
known.
myself because I didn't get that memo. I didn't see that memo.
And Herman Malone was a well known. He's since passed, beautiful human being, well known African American business leader, and he was the book corporate author of a book called Corporate Lynching. But he was a well known, respected businessman. He oftentimes will sit and lecture me about you got to help us find a way to help small business owners and operators access capital. We need you to block down field. And so after he passed is when this idea came to me. And I said, I'm going to name it after my friend Herman Malone.
That's nice. I respect that. The only thing I had was all these financial talks you was doing, and I would see you doing this and stuff like that. Nobody ever called Prince Dykes. What's up with that, man? Why nobody called Prince Dykes and said, hey, this guy's doing all of this, done all of this. Let's get him at the table. What's going on?
I don't know, man, but I know my team. I was just talking to Gabrielle, who we have a healthy respect for what you've done and what you're doing.
Yeah.
And when you and I first met, I didn't know you were the Prince Dykes. But now I know you are the Prince Dykes.
Yeah, I know it's our first time meeting. I said, well, I know he don't probably know who I am, but but I don't like to talk. I like to show people.
Yeah, no, all day.
Right? I like
all day.
People get in there and get the I say, hey, you know what? You'll find out.
And that's important. But I think I've lived my life like that as well. I mean, you were so what's the word? Underrated and underappreciated. And oftentimes, a lot of giants that I know in my life are folks who didn't sit there and tell you what they're going to do. They sit there and say, just, you'll see.
You'll see.
Yeah.
Now, these 3 terms, I know you went through a lot. What was the advantages and disadvantages? What did you learn from that you're going to take to that next phase?
Wow.
Because I think I seen something on you, man, that you going to the next level. You're doing something at the global, something I seen you was on.
Well, we got 4,000 people in town right now. It was a global summit that Denver's hosting. And
I thought they was putting you on a board or something like that.
Well, I mean, I'm on boards. I don't know which one you're talking about, but
okay. I got a lot of. I can't remember what I thought it was something with maybe doing something on the federal level or something like that. I don't know.
No, I mean, listen, I don't know what's next, but I think that my orientation is whatever I'm going to do, I want to work on a global scale. You always want to continue to kind of create new possibilities at other levels. The local level is phenomenal. I think this is where I've enjoyed politics the most. Quite frankly, I tell my friends who are elected at the national level, Michael Bennett, Senator Hickenlooper, and I say, yeah, I know what y'all were thinking. I don't know what y'all thinking. This is where it's, and they both agree. I have the best political job in the state of Colorado, and I love it. And this is where you want to be. But my interest in terms of global economic development, I've been in I've been in just about all but one continent. And countries all over the world. And there's some areas of interest, and I'm interested in Africa being one of them, that, just think there's so much potential there, and it's still on tap. China gets it, but Americans are not saying we're not interested. But I'll tell you that there's some possibilities there, and I'm excited to explore some of those opportunities.
Okay. Now, going into your next phase, we got President Biden announced his reelection. 2024. What do you think? What do you feel?
I think first of all, we ought to celebrate President Biden. I think that I want you to think this guy has done amazing. What he's done with the infrastructure bill, with the climate bill, what he was trying to do, and hopefully he wins in terms of the student loans, because that to me, that's a real economic driver. You free young people up from the straddles of those loans. Quite frankly, in America, this is the wealthiest country on earth. We shouldn't have people having to go, worry about whether or not they can pay their mortgage or their student loans. I mean, it should be, we should find a way for our young people to be educated in this country, because it benefits all of us when we're educated, right? But so when you think about what he's done tremendous work. And so has he earned it? Yes, he earns it. He's earned a second term. And I think when it comes down to it, I think the calamity and the disaster that is being proposed by some on the other side, in terms of the guy who's already in that office, is not going to fly with the American people, and he'll be back for a second term.
Oh, okay. Well, I sit across this table from many people, right? And some of them being young politicians, young hopeful, running for office, right? You've had, tremendous success in that field. What would be your advice for the young person who's thinking about running, who has ran and lost and is trying to find their way? What would be your advice to them?
Stay focused on your why. don't ever forget why you did it in the first place. These jobs are filled with amazing, amazing experiences. Some ups, mostly ups, but also some downs, and the challenging times. And it's that passion, the why, it's what makes you come up back again and keep going. And as well as keep you focused when things seem to be chaotic, it'll keep you focused. So you don't forget why, and then you also don't forget who you came to serve. Because the moment it becomes about you, the moment you've done.
I think that once you get in that system, you're like, I gotta run, but I need funds to run.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So do you feel like people get compromised when they gotta go out and say, I know what my why is, but I need this in order to get to that, when you're climbing that quote unquote corporate ladder?
It can be, but here's the reality is that at the end of the day, I got to live with who I am. And that's why I say don't forget your why, because with that bundled in that why is your integrity, is who you are. It's the things that you would never sacrifice. I would be, not being honest if I did not see, hear, or even be asked to do something that was inappropriate by someone who had gave me money. And the reality is that will, the first thing you say is, don't ever speak to me like that again. Don't ever suggest anything like that to me again. This is my livelihood. This is my life. And never want to have my children look at me between bars. That's not going to happen. And quite frankly, that's all you have, right? Integrity. Only 1% of us will ever become independently wealthy to the point we don't have to worry about anybody or anything. And which means the only thing we have is our reputation, our integrity, and our relationships. And so I'm never going to sacrifice that. So the reality is that, yeah, you can do that. But when people know where you stand, they will always respect that. And people knew where I stood. Just because you donate to me doesn't mean that I'm going to do something that sacrifices or imperils my integrity. And they knew that. You can ask me, and I'm going to look at you and say, that's not going to happen.
So how do you feel about this runoff we got going on?
Exciting.
Exciting?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting because I think the right two are the ones who should serve. If when it was first up, when it was 27 people, then down to 17, you look at that.
How did you deal with that pressure over these years? Over these re-elections and re-elections? I could just see it on you from a distance, like, man.
Well, I here's how I looked at it. There's a election every day you serve.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? You don't just pony up and say it's time to get reelected, but let's fine tune our message. No, you're running every time you're out there. Every day I got up as mayor, I wanted them to see this is the guy we want serving us. I wanted people to trust. People didn't have to like me, but I wanted them to trust that when it came down to me doing the right thing for the city, I was going to do the right thing. And I believe that's why I was elected 3 times. Which is something that's only happened twice in Denver, Colorado. It's only been 2 mayors in the history of the city, 164 years, who've been elected 3 times.
Wow.
Wellington Webb and Michael Hancock.
Man, so you know what? That might be your next career. You might be like a political advisor and show people how to set up their campaigns and how to make it happen.
Well, you do kind of.
I don't know. I see you going federal. I see you in the White House. I see you in Congress somewhere.
It will take a lot because I'm not a Washington guy. I like to get things done, man. I can't be playing politics. Oh man, come on, let's get it done.
Now you spoke about student loans, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what you think about this idea. Something that I did, one of the programs that I do, I wrote the children's books on investing, credit, and insurance and stuff like that. So many people gave out knowledge, which is great. But some people, it didn't, I remember when I was in 9th grade, Mr. Crow was my economics teacher.
Yeah.
He taught me about investing in stocks. I looked at the page. The people didn't look like me.
Right.
Nobody around me was talking about investing. So I just kind of put it in my short-term memory bank, kicked it out. So I said, hey, checked the boxes, said I did it. Didn't feel like it applied to me.
Right.
So it didn't feel like the program was applicable. It didn't have anything that was tangible to it. So my thought process was, how about if you graduate this program, we're going to turn you into a shareholder, right? You're going to, we're going to put all this crap to the side. You're going to become a shareholder. One of the ways I had done that, I had set up my foundation. Donors came in, they donated stocks to me. So all I needed was parents to create an investment account.
Yeah.
So I can transition the stocks to them. I will say this. I was at a particular housing authority and it was 17 kids. And out of 17 kids, only one parent,
I believe that,
opened up an account.
I believe that.
Even though it was a wrong account, but they tried.
Yeah.
But since they tried, I'm going to work with them. That even said, hey, so I can even give away the particular stocks to you.
You're giving stock away.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, but you have to have an account.
Yeah. Right?
Your parents have to, but the kids would be super excited. But the parents are the one. Now, something you said earlier, what makes it when it's that tough for you to do, it makes you. But when you go to different neighborhoods, you notice. You go to certain more affluent neighborhoods, it's like, oh, we already got an investment account.
Yeah.
Send it right on over. They're good to go, right? But then it kind of takes your program and it makes you want to go to where it's easy.
Sure.
Versus where it is needed. You know what I mean?
That's your passion though, right?
You know, you're like, hey, I want to go here, but you're getting resistance, you're getting this. So it makes you want to go, hey, I want to go this direction. But it's my ultimate goal. I believe that every kid, as soon as they walk into kindergarten, should have a funded investment account. And because, you know, everybody wait till you turn 18 years old and everybody gives you student loans, everybody gives you scholarships, grants, everything at 18.
Sure.
But we know the kids that are in kindergarten right now, and the ones that are getting ready to go into kindergarten, we know they're going to want a house. We know they're going to want a car. We know they're going to want XYZ.
Start now.
But what are we doing exactly at this point?
Right. Well, I mean, listen, the reality is this, and if you were in public housing, and I spent 5-6 years there working with residents of Denver public housing, and I can tell you, even today, we still run into a lot of first-generation bank residents, first-generation banked residents. I said banked, just banking, right?
Wow.
We still are running, and certainly run into people with first-generation credit cards, credit card holders. I mean, it's still this idea, and I'm looking at your book, Wesley Learns About Credit, this concept of credit, people's credit worthiness, and so I think it's still immune to, I mean, people don't, it's just not there. And so when you talk about opening up an investment account, people are like, what are you talking about? I need my money today, you know?
So we did that one with
yes,
TD.
I remember this one, yes.
Yeah, so you know, you didn't get the genesis. It started all back in 2014 from a basement.
Okay.
Wesley Learns to Invest. That was years before that. Then we did Wesley Learns About Credit, right? That was in 2017. And the first one was in 2015.
Wow, that's a nice series. Yeah.
And then, you know, the next one is Wesley Learns. You know, you met my son out there.
Yeah.
Wesley Learns About Real Estate. That's in April. That's coming out April of next year. So taking these adult topics, bringing it down to a kid, and I'm just telling people, do something that you wish somebody had done for you.
Exactly, because I'll tell you again, growing up as I did, challenged background, 10 of us, there are so many things that I look back on in my life, and blessedly, I'm still young to kind of pick up on some of these things and make them come to fruition, that I wish people had to learn, you know, credit, you know, responsible use of credit, you know, buying homes. And I've now either built or purchased 5 homes in my life, and understanding the power of that real estate, right? And understanding the power of holding that real estate. And the moment you say I'm a homeowner as opposed to a renter, it changes your whole credit dynamic and your ability to do some things, right? And so just, I wish, and I look back on some of the mistakes made even with real estate. I remember buying a home at age 23 years old.
Oh, nice.
My first home, I was single, I was 23, and I paid $40,000 for that home.
In Denver?
In Denver. It was a 4-bedroom home,
hold on, you bought
ranch-style home. That was unbelievable, man. But to sell that home 3 years later for $110,000.
Oh, you thought you was on top of the world.
I thought I was on top of the world. And I look back on it and I said, I should have never sold that property.
Now, how much is that home worth today?
Today, that home, I actually saw it on the market. Not today. I saw it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, $400,000.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
And that's something that I'm glad you said that. It's something I always tell my brothers. I'm going to send them this too.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm like, you know, my dad, he willed me his house. And I'm like, they're like, we should do this, do that. I'm like, man, just keep it. Just find a way to keep it.
Yeah.
I said, it don't have to be rented. If it could be rented, cool. But just fix it. Just keep it and pass it to the next generation. That is the quickest way, besides insurance. Insurance, it's having an insurance policy and just keeping up the property.
Yeah.
And what that thing will be worth 10, 20 years from now.
Right.
That, you know, just equity that just piled up that you could use to buy a business, to take out a loan on, rent it, renovate, live in it yourself.
Right.
So that's one of the things I'm going to hit for too.
And I look back in our
you
community.
definitely had it paid for.
Yeah. Oh, it would have been paid for. I mean, I just think back and I go, oh my God, I should have kept that property. And I've had two or three properties like that. I should just kept them.
Yeah. Accumulating.
Yeah, just accumulate them. I would have 4 houses now that probably rented out and doing all right. But, you know, It's lessons learned.
Lessons learned. So you know what's next for you? I know you're just kind of saying, hey, I don't know. Anything you want to say that to look out for, or hey, you're working on? Or, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm staying in Denver. I love the rumor that said I'm moving to Florida. I love Florida, but no, man. I mean, I'm not moving to Florida. I want to kill that rumor right now. Someone said it to me again today. Not going to Florida. I'm staying in Denver. My children are here. At least one of my children is here. My three grandchildren are here. The foundation of my family's here. So I'm going to stay here. But I may be all over the place working, which I'm excited about. And I'm not walking into a 9-to-5, which I need a moment to just kind of decompress and have some flexibility in life.
Okay. Well, Mayor, how can people find you, get in contact with you? I don't know, your life after, because when is your last day?
July 17th.
July 17th
is the last day. Usually around 10:30 a.m. We've already transitioned the power in Denver.
Well, and when people say, "Hey, I want to get in contact with you, do something," how people find you? How do people follow you? All that good stuff.
Yeah, we'll establish all of that. It's not established yet, but I'm working on it now. But I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I don't know what other social media platforms we'll be on, but I'll be out there. But I'll still be around Denver. There's some things I'm going to be focused on. I'm excited about the Denver Institute of Racial Equity, Inclusion and Reconciliation that's going to be at Metropolitan State University that I'm going to be very, very involved in helping move that. We're going to be doing research around racism and research around bias and really bringing some real forward-thinking, powerful conversations between bodies of people and concepts that right now are just being divided by superficial things like one's skin color.
Is there anything that once you got in the office that you said, I didn't sign up for this?
Yeah. I just got to say, got to go. That's it.
Yeah.
You know what? There have been moments like that. What the hell am I doing here? You know what? This is it. You know what? Usually, I mean, it comes with all of it. I mean, politics is a big bailiwick. I think I can tell you this. There are people today who are awfully talented, who are awfully committed and dedicated, who will not run for public office, and we are being short-sighted from their public service because of, I think, the vitriol that exists on social media. And I had to get my kids off of it, at least to get them to start reading comments. My ex-wife, my mother, my late mother, stop reading that stuff because it's not healthy for you. And by the way, the people who are putting it out there, they're not healthy either. It says more about them than it does me, or even whatever situation we're dealing with. So that's those are moments where you go, man, I see it from this end. We've got some very sick people out there. And it's unfortunate because they sit in their darkness or wherever they are, wherever they could be sitting in their office and they're putting vitriol out there. And it's just not a healthy situation.
Okay. Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Man, thank you. And thank you for what you do. Seriously.
Okay.
And I'm glad to see you continue to do what you're thing. I'm going to read these and I have someone I want to give this to. So I get to take these.
Those are yours.
Man. All right, man. Thank you.
Okay. Well, let's get ready to close this out. Again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you guys for tuning in. And to the next video podcast, cartoon, book, or whatever else crazy you see me doing around the globe. My name is Prince Dykes. I'm the Prince of Investing. Peace. Be safe. I'm out. And thank you.